right, welcome back. Is everyone excited for another deal? Come on, just at least wave your hands or do something, please. Show me you're alive. Somebody give me a sign. All right, we're going to dive into another deal here with the loudest man in the room, Russell Ham. It's sometimes like we don't even know if he's here. But we're excited because we're going to give him a platform today to do it. If you are ready, please just type in the chat, yes, I'm ready. Just type yes. Let's go, says Deidre. I love it. If that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what does. What do you say for chants at your school? You're a coach. Tell us what you do. Do it. Do it. Come on.
We are Mesa.
Oh, we are Mesa. Here we go. Going to do a Mesa deal here. So before we dive into this deal, Russell Ham has had quite a unique journey with us. So maybe, Russell, tell people who you are, your background, and then we'll walk you, and then let's walk them through every single step that you took to where you are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in Southern California, about 15 minutes from Disneyland, and got into teaching I got into coaching, actually, high school coaching right after high school. So in 1988, that's how long it's been. Got right into high school basketball coaching, then subsequently, I got into teaching.
That's a word.
And it's a good work since I'm a PE teacher, right? I got into teaching. I'm doing that for 23 years now, and so in March of 2019, I joined the community.
So being a PE teacher, what made you want to get into real estate?
Yeah, I mean, in 2001, I read the book, Kiyosaki's book, and I really got interested in. I knew I wanted to be on the right side of the quadrant. I knew I was going to be in the W2, the left side for a long time, but I did not want to be there. But life happens. You have a family. You get debt. You get school loans, and it's just taken a while. So, but now entering this community, I'm ready to jump over to the right side of that quadrant.
Before we dive into your journey with Wicked Smart or Smart Real Estate Coach, let me ask you one important question. Do teachers that teach physical education, do they get mad when somebody calls them a gym teacher versus a physical education teacher?
No, we don't care.
Nobody cares?
No.
All right.
No, we don't care.
He doesn't care. All right, just wanted to make sure. So tell us, Russell, when you came into our community, first you joined the 90-day Jumpstart. So could you tell us about that experience and then why you decided to basically hit every single level on the way up?
Yeah, I mean, after I saw you guys on YouTube and got interested in the terms arena, I dipped my toe, as they like to say, with the 90-day. It was me, Nathan Bukite, and you, and I think there was somebody else, but we would have our meetings, right after school, we just get into the academic part of it, learning on what you needed to do in order to move forward, like Brian was saying, like everyone was saying, like Link is saying, I just made dials. I would do it during break. I would do it during lunch. Right after school, I'd find a little room in the gym, and I would just dial. And then once I got the hang of it, and once I started getting comfortable on the phone, then that's when I jumped up to starter and had Mike as my coach.
Yeah, we'll dive into what each and every one of those levels mean in this short minute here, and we'll open up that opportunity. But this is very much a family. I mean, you joined with Nathan Bukite. Nathan Bukite is on here, and now you're one of our coaches. And Nathan Bukite actually works in our processing on a company in which we just started to help associates on that, and we'll reveal that later as well. But this is how much of a family we are. We start from a coaching, mentoring relationship and then grow into just an amazing team where we do things on a daily basis now and continue to grow.
Well, and that's what attracted me was the family aspect, and the coaching aspect, obviously, but it was the family part that attracted me. Is just how you guys work together as a family, and you were in the trenches, and you were, wanting to, lift everybody up. So that's what really attracted me in the beginning.
And when you first committed into joining this, because then we'll drive in this deal and we'll go over some numbers. I know that Michelle said that she loves the numbers, so we're gonna go over that in just a second, especially for her.
We'll take care of you, Michelle.
How big of a fear factor came into play when you decided to join? Like, were you super comfortable? You knew that this was going to be an absolute home run, or did you and your wife have to go over things in order to make sure that you kind of had all the T's crossed and the I's dotted? Like, was it an easy decision for you when fear is a factor in order to join this?
Sort of. I mean, the fear was I knew nothing about real estate, number one, and then secondly, I didn't know anything about terms. So that was the biggest fear. Like, am I going to be able to do this? But the upgrading and getting into it was not fearful, because what I did prior to this is I set myself up financially in order to make these upgrades. And with each upgrade, again, I was a 90-day, I was a starter, immersion. And so in each step, I made sure that financially I was going to be able to do it. So that fear was not there, because I knew that. And being a teacher, I have a pretty steady job. I have pretty steady income. So that was not fearful. I knew that I was going to be able to eventually, get through the financial part of it.
Awesome. All right, let's dive into this deal. Michelle, we're going after it now. Numbers are coming out. Are you ready? All right. So what type of deal is this?
This is a sandwich lease.
So a sandwich lease purchase, meaning Russell is in the middle between the buyer and the seller. What is the source of this lead?
It's expired.
Expired. Okay. And the term?
36 months.
36 months. I know, looking at the poll from earlier, not everybody was here yesterday. So when we say deal type, that is a sandwich lease purchase, owner financing, or subject to deal. Source is going to be where the lead originated from. And then the term is how long of a time frame we have in order to cash this seller out. Tell us, what's the story behind the seller? Like, what was their challenge?
Yeah, great question. So this was expired in, I wanted to say May. So I called the seller. She is a doctor, and that's when COVID was in high swing, right? So
you're saying sophisticated sellers like doctors?
Yes.
Still utilize our types of transactions?
Yes.
I would think that to be the case.
Yeah. So she was a doctor that was just the next town over. And she was trying to sell it. She took it off the market. She let it expire because she didn't want people walking through her house. She just, COVID was in high swing. So she was just like, screw this, I don't want it. And then when I contacted her and I said, hey, we can do this virtually, or, just, I can just come out there and just, I can mask up and we can do this, without that. And then she was really into it. So, that's how it kind of transpired is when we first started talking.
Love it. And this property is located where? What's your market?
It's in Redlands, California, which is about an hour from Los Angeles and an hour from me.
So what most would consider it an extremely hot market.
Very hot. Yeah, it's a very high price area. And
you're working with a sophisticated seller in a hot market, and you're able to structure this type of deal.
Yeah, basically those are all my leads.
I love it. All right, so when we talk about debt and equity, when we buy our properties, specifically on a lease purchase, we're assuming that there is a mortgage on it, so that's what the debt is going to be. It's going to be the exact balance of the mortgage. And the reason why we have it structured this way is because all of our agreements, now that I saw many of you are in our QLS Home Study course or now in our academy, all of our agreements are in there, and those agreements state that you are purchasing the property for the exact mortgage balance plus a specific amount of equity. That's what's going to allow you to build in wealth and have the benefit of the principal pay down while you actually don't have ownership of this deal. You just have full control of it. So what's the debt on this house?
$425,000.
$425,000, and how much equity are you locking in?
$410,000.
Okay, so that brings us to, what's the purchase price?
$860,000. Oh, where did I buy it from?
Yeah.
$835,000.
$835,000. All right, and then tell us a little bit about your buyer. What's the buyer situation going on?
Oh, the buyers, most with higher end homes, some buyers are going to be, they have a little hiccup on the credit report. This was not the case. These were contractors that don't have a W-2, so they need seasoning. So, yeah, it's husband and wife and a family, 4 boys, just like my family, 4 boys. And so they were looking to move closer to where because they were living in LA and commuting to the Redlands area. And so they wanted to move closer to where his construction site was and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love it. Those of you that don't know and have not been to our YouTube channel, if you go research, I actually did 2 videos on the first property I bought as a lease purchase, meaning my first home, which Kayla and I lived in with Remy at the time, and then soon Bellamy. We bought it on a lease purchase, and I was in the exact same position. I needed seasoning, self-employed, need time in order to qualify for a loan, was able to buy into a property for my own residence and be able to live in it throughout the time. And before I take this next step in this, we actually created a Google Drive for everyone with a ton of resources. I want to make sure you guys have this. If you go to qlslive.com/tools with an S?
Yes.
/tools, qlslive.com/tools. There are tons of resources in there, not only for you to advance your education, absolutely free, advance your education, and we also have some terminology and things in there as well to help you throughout these next day and a half as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. It's qlslive.com/tools. Dive into that during lunch. Okay, so we went ahead and we sold the property for what?
$860.
I'm sure Nick and myself would probably say the same thing right now.
Why
Ready
didn't
to
you go higher? Yep.
Nick, what would you say right now? He's off camera, but if I move my
Why
lips
not?
and
Why
he
not?
talks, it sounds like I'm Nick.
Why not 869.9 or 874.9?
To be honest with you, this was a mistake on my part. I didn't bring you in quick enough. Just to be honest.
I'll let it slide once.
Only once. Only once. Okay. You get your one slap on the wrist. Okay. So make sure you're utilizing your team, and Russell knows that now. And this is good. He's being open and vulnerable. Being a coach and being a high 6 associate, we're all learning constantly. And sometimes I don't seek out Nick's help on time. Okay, let's dive into these payday 1. So your deposit from your buyer was how much?
The initial deposit was 5%, so $43,000, plus first month's rent, so $3,200. We'll get into that a little bit.
The 32 months. So you got first month's rent. The reason why he's able to, the reason why he was able to acquire the $3,200 is because our agreements state that we do not make the payments until 30 days after our buyer's in the property. So.
Hi, my name is Prefontaine. Welcome to us. Sorry.
Oh, Chris is in the background. So that's $3,200 to an additional $3,000 to your bottom line. I just want you to think about this too. If you're doing 1 deal a month and you're able to get an extra first month's rent, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, I can tell you that you are making somebody's salary by just extra first month's rent over a year's course of time. All right, let's dive into payday 2. So what's the monthly payment on the property you're making to the seller?
$2,531.
Okay, and what's the payment? So does that include
PITI, yeah.
Okay, so principal, interest, taxes, insurance. What are you collecting for a monthly payment from your buyer?
$3,200.
Okay, so your cash flow equals?
$669.
All right, and what did we sell this property on? 36 month term?
36, so
Okay, so equals how much?
24084.
24084. Very precise. All right, so we bought the property for $835. You marked up to $860. So what is the price premium?
25.
$5K. All right, the principal pay down on this is?
It's pretty good. 778.
Times 36 months equals?
28008.
Okay, you already collected $43,000.
Anybody have a calculator?
He's messing up.
No, we talked about it earlier.
Okay, so let's take the $25,000 price premium, and let's add it to the $28,000 principal pay down, and then subtract the $43,000. What do we got? 25,000.
What was that? You're talking too fast.
25,000
Got it, okay?
plus 28,008.
Got it?
Subtract 43,000.
10,008.
1,008 is your payday 3. So let's go ahead and add these up. 43 plus 24 plus your 10. What do we got? Plus the 3,200. What do we got?
Well, that would be 80,092, around there. Around 82.
Just about 80,000.
80, yeah, around 80,000.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal, Russell. Can you give us your biggest excited yell right now because of this deal? I just want you guys to hear the excitement of Russell right now. This is probably the biggest we're gonna get as
You
far as
will.
the excitement.
That's it. One time only.
We are not going to go to a breakout, but what we're going to do is we're going to open up for Q&A. We'll take about 3 to 5 questions depending on time. So who has a question, either type it in the chat or go ahead and raise your hand and we'll line them up.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Can you pop the
go.
deal back up on the whiteboard?
There
Thank
it is. Okay. Tony, you're up.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the down. So the property was 860 and you took 5% down. The area, wouldn't that be a jumbo? I mean, I'm just thinking about your buyer and getting them through the end game there with just only 5% down.
Yeah, good question, Tony. So we've scheduled, I believe, another 5 over the course of the term. So this could end up being, obviously a little bit larger profit, but we're going to schedule a little bit more. We're trying to get to 10% by the end of the term. They understand we're going in. They understand it'll eventually be a jumbo loan, and we're going to work with them once it gets closer.
So they know that even if they give you 10, they got another 10 to come up with at closing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Thank
the
you.
importance of having the good question, Tony. That's the importance of having that systematic process and having an open dialogue at the beginning, where it's just so you know, we'll even have even in our documents with our buyers, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, but even our documents in our buyers, they are signing stating that they may need to bring cash to the table. That's not up to us. That's going to be based upon the loan which they are going to be able to acquire.
Before we move, I've seen this question come up a few times. I just want to make sure it's hit. Most recently it was asked, still not sure why the deposit is included in the profit if they're getting to the end and it will go towards the purchase. Can you guys explain quickly how that works?
Yep, absolutely. So we bought this property for $835 and we've increased, we put a premium on it. The total deposit, so then the deposit, it does come off the purchase price, but it is at an increased purchase price. Also, because you're getting the benefit of principal pay down, which is you building in wealth, that's more equity that's built in. This is huge. If you just get one takeaway today, that it's important that you realize that we are, at the end of the day, we have to pay off the exact mortgage balance at the day of financing plus the equity we locked in. That allows you to build in wealth on a deal that you do not even own, you just control. That's how we're able to count that as a payday 1. We're selling it at a higher price, and we actually are going to owe a lot less by the time the day is over.
Hey, Zach, I have a few things to add on Tony's question that he was wondering about the buyer. They were probably going to have to come up with more. So, Tony, what we found over the course of several years doing these deals is that if we get our buyer close to, if not over that 10% mark, that's going to give them the best likelihood to get a loan. Because programs and rates and depending on the area, that all can change and that all fluctuates over the course of their term, because the program they're going to be accessing doesn't necessarily even exist right now. However, what we've found is by getting our buyers to 10%, if not more, it gives them access to the best rates, the best programs, and the best deal for them. With these particular buyers, Rusty, I remember that we just had to disclose. So you just have to always disclose, and always say, all right, well, if you only want to do that amount of a down payment, you're probably going to have to come up with 20% for the jumbo loan issue that you mentioned. I think I was involved in this one, right? Because I remember that conversation that we had with these guys.
I did bring you in a little bit later, yes.
Okay. Hope that helps, Tony.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Let's go, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Russell. So I did have a question. You mentioned earlier that the sale price of 860,000 could have been higher. So what were the comps at that time, and why didn't you go higher at that time?
Well, the first reason why I didn't go higher is because I didn't bring Nick in soon enough. The comps were hovering around that area. It was around the 850 at 860. I to be honest with you, I was a little nervous. I wanted to get it sold, so I set it at 860. But like Nick said, I could have gone 869 or even 875 or somewhere around that area.
Can we shoot it back over to Nick? And we're going live to Nick on the other side of the room. Nick, can you explain more about how the pricing would work on these types of deals? Because the comps really don't matter. I mean, you're selling it at a future value. So could you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, 100%. So you're selling it. I'll just go off this example. If the comps today are going for similar homes in the area, or even the best comp in the area is going for 840 or 850 today, then there's no reason that you couldn't go up to 865, 869, even a touch higher to 874.9, because remember, the buyer's not getting the house appraised before they move in. The buyer's house for their loan in that product gets appraised close to their closing, whether it's a few weeks or a few months before their closing. So and this is for all of our properties that we do this, you just have to round up within reason. So I wouldn't say, Russell, you should round up to 899. That's crazy. That would be setting the buyer up to fail, which is not what we're about. So rounding up within reason would be that 869 mark. That's something that I'd be comfortable with. But another important thing to mention, you don't want to go too high, because you want to incentivize the buyer each step of the way. So they're putting down more over the course of their term, which is getting them more and more vested in the property over their deal. Also, it's increasing the likelihood that they will be able to get their own loan at the end. But also, in a lot of the properties that we've done deals, the buyers come 2 or 3 years down the line after they sign their rental and deal, find that when they get their loan, they're walking into sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes $30,000 to $60,000 in free equity once they get their own loan. So that's the reason why you don't want to go too high on rounding up the price, because you want to make sure it's competitive with the market, and you want to incentivize the buyer every step of the way. And Zach, I'll send it right on back over to you, sir.
No, don't you even try it. We have another question that's going right back to you, which was, how do you address the buyer asking about appraisal? What happens if the home doesn't appraise? Bum, bum, bum.
Sure, very simple. I just say, well, Mr. Buyer, we do, or Miss Buyer,
She could be a nice lady.
We do. Yeah, she could be a very nice lady. We do all of our prices based on comparable homes in the area. We look at the comps in the area, and they're based on comparable homes. I just don't make a big deal out of it because it's not a big deal. They're not negotiating the purchase price with us. And the only time that we'll enter into the discussion, and I've said this before, the only two buyers, that is, the only time we'll enter into the discussion of either lowering that price or adjusting it or adjusting the monthly payment is with a down payment of over 10%. What were you thinking that you do for a down payment? And the people that ask that are trying to negotiate on the purchase price right off the bat, those are probably going to be the ones that have only even less than 3% for the down payment.
And they're not your buyers.
Yeah, and they're not the
They're
right
not
buyer.
The right buyer.
Not the right buyer for you.
Let's go, Judy. Let's go, Judy.
Yeah, my question, and now I think I've got myself all mixed up. Yesterday, when we were doing the sheets, you're supposed to, at the end, in order to get your total of the profit, would be payday, number one. Number two is going to be the monthly cash flow, all added up over the term. But then on number three, if I remember in the example today, what you just went through, you didn't mention the principal pay down. Did I miss something?
No, good point, Judy. So payday 3 is, if we look at these steps, it's the premium, the price premium, plus the principal pay down, subtracting what you've already collected. In this case, he collected a bigger premium than what he raised the price. So we have to wait for that principal to pay down. So then we went ahead and we subtracted what he already collected, and that's why it brought us to $10,000. So the principal pay down is right here. It's $28,000. So what we did is we took the 25, we added up 28, and then we had to subtract the 43,000. So then that brought us to 10,000. That's what we have available on the back.
Oh, which is the cash out payment.
Yep,
Got it.
exactly.
All right, thank you.
I knew we would work this out, Judy. I knew it. One last question. We're going to go to Juan.
Thank you, guys. Just have a question about the expectations. So is there any type of correlation between the final sale price and the expected profit at all? Or that varies per business or per deal?
I'm sorry, please repeat your question. I just want to be clear on it.
I was saying, is there any correlation between the sales price at the end, the $860,000, and the expected profit at the end of the deal?
Are you saying, are we only raising, do we have the profit in mind set before we set the price?
Something like that, or just as a rule of thumb, if let's say that the price of the property is going to be X, is there an expectation about the profit based on that X value?
Good question. I'll hit mine, and then if anybody else has anything to add, and that is, we look at deals from a holistic standpoint. Honestly, I don't have a set expectation. We've had properties that are $200,000 and are $100,000 in profit, and then we've had properties like this that are $860,000 purchase price and are $80,000. It's all a holistic. If you look at the deal from a whole, what's the term? What's the purchase price? What's the principal pay down? What's the spread we're going to get? Because if you even looked at it and said, if you have a $200,000 house, but you're getting a $1,000 a month spread, that's going to drastically change your numbers. Or if you have an owner financing deal where it's 100% principal pay down, we're not even paying interest, again, drastically change your numbers. So I wouldn't have an expectation on the deal. I'd look at it holistically.
Right.
Greg,
yes.
Over to you.
Yeah, same here. So, I mean, we look at it individually by deal by deal. And I will be honest with you that we actually, when we start structuring the deal, we actually will go through this deal structure Sunday sheet that you currently see being used with all these deals to see how the deals can be structured. But you got to remember, these people are coming to us for a solution. And so really the main focus, the way Cami and I look at it is how can we be the solution to get them the most out of the home, and where everyone can glean in the process, where the seller does well, we do well, and the buyer does well. As you can see, it's an all around picture. It's an all encompassing to be able to see if everyone's going to do well in the deal. That's how we